Hey, I'm Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about what made me decide to take out my IUD, which is my form of birth control, and what I look forward to happening and expect to happen, and why I chose to do that. What made me arrive at this decision? So I have had my IUD now for 6 years. I have not yet taken it out. I'm actually taking it out in 2 days. And I have had no known issues with my birth control up to this point. So even when I was younger and I was taking birth control, I never really had any issues. I never had heavy weight gain, never had acne, never really had any skin issues. So I always considered myself pretty lucky when it came to dealing with birth control. Never really had any terrible effects. When I got on the IUD, I did gain a little bit of weight, but nothing noticeable to anyone else. So in my mind, the IUD was perfect. I basically stopped getting my period after about a year, and I never had any cramps, never really had anything happen. And it's a very, very effective form of birth control. So from my point of view, up until recently, I assumed nothing was happening and that it was very good for me. So what made me get into this idea of wanting to take it out? There was a stage where I was trying to work on my femininity. And I felt like I just wasn't embodying it as much as I thought I should. I was working on my feminine energy, which I fully believe in all these things. I think those things are great. And I do think that they were working really well. In fact, once I decided to actually start working on that consciously and intentionally, it was very easy for me to get into it. However, I could not fully pinpoint why was it so hard? What was affecting me that even shifted me from being less feminine? And it didn't mean I was in my masculine, but it definitely meant there was a lot in me that just was not as natural when it came to being as feminine as I remembered when I was much younger. So I was watching a video on another girl talking about her femininity, and she basically said that she wasn't attracted to her husband for like the first 5 or 6 years of their friendship. And then as soon as she got off of her birth control, she was attracted to him. And I was like, that's interesting. Okay, I'm listening. And so I listened to this and I was like, let me go look more into that. Because I was also wondering, not why do I not like my friends, but why am I not feeling heavy attraction in the way that I feel like I should? I was still attracted to men. I definitely wasn't attracted to women, but I couldn't feel like this urge or this strong desire towards them at any point. At some points, I even felt leaning towards more asexual, which is where you're not really feeling sexual towards anyone. And I couldn't really figure out, like, this doesn't make any sense. So where's my drive? There was no drive to do anything. So I really couldn't figure out what was the issue. So she talks about this in the video and I go, okay, I'm going to look more into this. Then I start watching videos on what your mind is like after you get off of birth control and different things. And I was like, this kind of fits for a lot of issues, I'll say, that have come up in my life that I feel like even on my self-care, personal development, self-help journey, I have just not been able to fully pinpoint the reasoning. As much as I tried, I felt like sometimes it would be harder than it really needed to be, but I couldn't fully figure out why. So when I was watching these videos, it was like they were going through the list of the things that just did not make sense. I'd worked on myself in so many ways, but why is my femininity still not adding up naturally? Why am I not feeling strong attraction to men that I can get? It wasn't like these men weren't attractive, and it wasn't like I couldn't get these guys. I would have guys that are interested in me and that I'm interested in, but I wouldn't pursue them I wouldn't feel the strong drive or pull to them in the way that I felt I should. My libido was very low. And so when I'm looking at all these girls talking about all the effects they had from their birth control, not just from it, but once they got off it, what happened? Within 30 minutes, I basically decided, yeah, I'm absolutely taking this out. And so I went and made an appointment, which is for 2 days from now. And basically I was like, I'm getting this out as soon as possible. If I want it again, I can always put it back in. But if this is the answer to, if this is the possible, even if it's the answer to a few of my issues, or even possibly all of the ones I have been incapable of fully pinpointing the issue, then this would be a fully pivotal moment in my life. This could be a huge change in my life, in the way I live my life, in the way I experience my life, and who I am attracting. So this could be one of the biggest days of my life when I take this out. This could be one of those, this is the rest of your life kind of things, because there's so many things that I need in my next chapter that I feel like I'm at least going to have more openness to once I take this out. And so, what are some of the things that I'm excited to discover about this? What are some of the things that make me excited? What am I curious about? And what things did I see that I'm looking forward to seeing if they're true or not? So one of the main things that I am excited for, very, very excited for, that I watched a lot of information on is my attraction to others and their attraction to me. So I remember when I was much younger, I used to have exes that would always talk to me about my pheromones. They would always be like, Michelle, the smell, your smell. And I feel like a lot of that is blocked from the hormonal IUD. I have a Mirena IUD. The hormones are blocked from that. And so I'm not creating pheromones in the same way as before. So I do still believe I'm attractive. I can see that I can attract men, but I am very, very curious to see how different that is going to be once I am, creating pheromones more often and also embodying my femininity more. Talking about femininity, talking about attraction, all of that is going to become easier because it's going to be more natural and it's going to be more into play with who I am, my natural cycle, my natural being a woman, my natural being of a woman, my natural way that I am as a woman will be able to be projected. And this is so interesting because not only is my attraction to others going to change, their attraction to me is going to change. So I'm very excited to see how different that is. And I can also compare it to when I was much younger, because some things I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I am in my best stage of my life. I am more fit than I've ever been. Everything is really freaking good in my life. Why are these things not adding up? So that is one thing. Another thing is my attraction to others. So my attraction to men is definitely going to change. I'm like almost certain of this, because here was a scary fact that I found out while I was doing my research. There are so many scientific things that prove that when you are on the pill or when you are on birth control, your attraction is to different people than maybe necessarily you would be attracted to off of birth control. You are attracted to more masculine features when you are off birth control and you are ovulating naturally. And so I'm very curious about this. And can you imagine this happens? Can you imagine that you are married to someone? You stay on birth control that whole time, of course, and then you get married to them and then you get off birth control to have a kid. And you get off birth control and you hate your husband. And I know some people are like, oh, that could never happen. Look it up. I will try to find this girl's video. There was a girl's video who said, I hated my boyfriend after I got off of birth control. I hated him. Like, he was annoying. I couldn't stand anything he did. There was nothing about him that was appealing to me immediately. So that means Tuesday night, which is when I'm going, Tuesday night, I will know who I don't like immediately. And I'm actually very excited for that because that will give me a lot of clarity on a lot of things. But that is so fascinating to me and should also be scary for you, because if you do choose the wrong partner, the amount of women that will get divorces because they got off of birth control and then realize they don't like their husband, that's terrifying to me. So for me, that was a huge thing, because I'm also at a point in my life right now where I'm really wanting a relationship. But once again, I am mentally wanting it, not because people are telling me, but because I can feel I desire one. But my drive to actually make a move to make those things happen has been ridiculously low, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And so I'm thinking that when I get off of birth control, a lot of this is going to shift. My attraction is going to shift. My actions on my attraction and my attractiveness to others, they're all going to shift. So I'm very excited for that. Speaking on that as well, There is a guy right now who I'm very interested in, but I've been very confused about. I feel like this is going to bring a lot of clarity to that situation. I feel like this is going to bring a lot of clarity. And what I'm most interested in is how I'm going to feel about him after. I find him to be very attractive. So in my mind, it's either going to be that I'm going to be very attracted to him afterwards, or I'm going to be absolutely not attracted to him at all. So let's see how that goes. A lot of the women in the other videos and on forums were also talking about how they got rid of their mental brain fog. And this was something also I've been dealing with recently where I know we all have it sometimes, but I just could not focus on anything. Even making this video was significantly harder. And these are things that in my mind I should be able to do so easily. I'm usually someone who's so disciplined in all these things. Why is this so hard? And of course, I can say, oh, well, I've been on birth control for this long, but at the same time, if I'm able to gain more mental clarity, and almost all of them said they gained more mental clarity and got rid of brain fog, then my business will change. The way I live my life will change. Everything will change. So I'm very, very curious and excited to see how clear I will be on my vision for myself, on my vision for my future, and also just how clear I will be on my life as a whole. My life as a whole, my business as a whole, the way I'm doing things, how present I can be. And so I'm really excited to see how that will unfold. Tying that in with my own personal development journey, I'm very excited to witness this. If this had happened earlier in life, I'm sure I would be able to feel the difference. But now, because I've worked on myself so much, I'm so much more self-aware, I feel like I'm so excited to see how much I can witness of the change. I can see my emotions now because I meditate. I'm able to witness the emotions instead of always letting the emotions control me. And so I'm very curious as to how my personal development is going to tie in and be ignited by this new stage, because I feel that I'm going to feel my feelings more. I'm going to be able to, feel happiness more, to feel love more, to feel joy more, to feel more present. And if I'm able to utilize all of the self-work that I've done with this, then I can only imagine how amazing my life is going to be as I'm unfolding, as this is all unfolding by coming off of birth control. I have no idea currently how much my mental state right now is affected by these hormones, because we're all hormonal in certain ways. So the question is, what is going to happen to my hormones over the next few months? I think it takes around 3 months to fully unfold. And I definitely want to document this because I'll never be able to witness what I'm feeling now again, right? I won't know what this is like again. So I made sure that I was journaling. I made sure that I'm recording this because I want to be able to see this and I want to share with other people how I felt, my pre-thoughts that all seem to tie into this. And then afterwards, which ones actually changed? Maybe it's not all going to change, but even if some of the things are just addressed so that I can understand what is going on with me better, I can still develop myself from there and give myself, a better life consistently. As I'm always striving to become the best version of myself, this is something that I didn't even really consider until recently. And because of me still being in that dedicated Michelle, become your best self, I'm deciding to do this for me. So speaking of emotional changes, I'm really excited to feel those feelings. I'm really excited to be more present. I'm excited to see what happens. So here's a funny fact. When I was much younger, my brother was the first one to notice this. When I am on my period and PMSing, I actually am a much nicer person. If you ever need to ask me something, ask me when I'm on my period. I'm much more peaceful. I remember this distinctly because it would always be so opposite, and my brother would always comment on it, that I would just be much more tolerant. Nothing would really annoy me. So if you're ever needing something from me, ask me when I'm on my period. And I'm very curious to see if that stays the same. I never really had any issues with PMS as far as my skin either. I never really got acne before. And I would only get some pimples if I was eating sugar while on my period. If I wasn't on my period and ate sugar, nothing would happen. So I'm not too concerned that I'm going to have bad skin. Who knows? I can't tell right now, but I'm not so concerned that I'm not going to have good skin. Maybe I'll get some pimples and things, but I don't expect any crazy breakouts. I'm also still eating healthy, not really eating sugar, things like this. And I'm also very curious as far as physical changes go. I'm curious as to how my body is going to feel and react. Am I going to be sore all the time? Am I going to have like a month-long period? What is going to happen with my body? And as I was looking at some other women's responses and things that happened to them, what I found really interesting, which I would love to see, is that one girl didn't lose weight, but parts of her body that were a bit harder to lose, especially like in the lower stomach area. And I think she might have said like also under her arms or something like that. She was able to lose those like pretty much immediately after getting off of the pills. So that's very interesting to me because I didn't actually gain that much weight, but I did gain a little bit of weight when I first started. And therefore, I'm expecting that I'm going to lose weight. So I'm very curious as to how my body composition is going to turn out after getting off of it and how my body is, yes, going to reshape itself. In general, I'll still be eating the same, everything, nothing is going to change there. I have been eating healthy. I've been intermittent fasting. I'm not going to change any of those things. I'm just very curious to see what cravings are going to come up, especially since I'm off of sugar. What's going to happen to the way I desire things? So there's so many factors that play into this, into my body, into the way that I'm thinking, my mental clarity, my being, my emotions, my attraction, my femininity, all these things. I could not be more excited. Could not be more excited to be able to understand certain parts of my life and my being even more. I'm also excited to see how my worldview changes, how I see the world after this. You know, you see the world differently, even on your personal development journey. As you work on your mindset, as you work on getting to know yourself, your world changes because your world is your perceived reality. So the way you look at the world is how you're existing in it. And I'm so excited to see how different that's going to be as I embody more of my divine feminine power, as I embody more of who I am, as I'm feeling more of the feelings. How am I going to feel towards expressing myself? How is my communication going to change? How am I going to interact differently with people afterwards? Not everyone knows I'm getting off of it. So will certain people be able to tell that there was a change or not? And I'm really excited to just see what happens. And so I'm excited to share this journey with you. I'm excited that you want to be a part of this. And I'm excited that maybe this could be the beginning of the rest of my life.